everybody, good morning. It's Jean here, Jean's Block Party 2019. If you followed along with Jean's Block Party 2019 for block number 27, you saw our block number 27. Very simple this week. I've had a lot on my mind. I have a lot going on in my life. And so that was block number 27, very simple block. I was talking about, before I got to block 28, I was talking about the quilt show out in Lancaster County and what I purchased. And this is what I purchased. A large orange peel template. Now this is from Missouri Star Quilt Company. So you can get it at Missouri Star Quilt Company, but I also looked online on Amazon. You can get it there too. And it's very interesting, a 1/4 inch seam allowance is included. So this, if you do it with the, how we did our applique star with the interfacing, this, if you do it that same way, including this interfacing, this goes on a 10-inch square. I don't have a 10-inch square right here. I don't know where a 10-inch square is. My 10-inch squares are somewhere. If you interface it like we did and turn it so it's a clean edge with an interfaced backing, you slit that. That says slit here. That's what that means. That's slit there. You turn it around and you iron it beautifully so your edges are all finished for whatever applique. I would do a blanket stitch. It fits perfectly on a 10-inch square. So this would make a beautiful, a beautiful quilt block on a 10-inch square. So you have two 10-inch squares, one that you background and that one that you applique this on. So you can do it all different ways. That's called the orange peel. This is the large orange peel template. Made in the USA from Missouri Star Quilt Company. Super. So that's going to be one of my next little projects that I'm going to do using my 10-inch squares from Missouri Star Quilt Company. Because I didn't buy anything. I told you I bought this. I bought this lovely little top here. I thought it was so pretty. From one of the vendors. Go figure. I found that this quilt show in Lancaster County, the AQS quilt show, it was, I was saying it was very serious. And somebody said it was almost like, it was so like classy, and the caliber of quilts, not that the caliber of quilts anywhere else is any different, out of this world, but I almost felt like it was like a museum. It was very quiet, and when I was filming, I was saying to Maxwell, we mess about. We shouldn't, but we do. With Jen, we mess about and everything. I thought, oh, I can't mess about. I can't mess about. So I did. I filmed it and everything. But I found the vendors expensive. Sorry, vendors. That, like flat quarters for $3.25 at a few of them. And I'm thinking, oh. And this was, I forget what this cost. It was the show price, but I think it was almost the same price, or maybe slightly more than online. I don't know, because sometimes when you go to shows you want it to be, the show price. I did see the show price for a $15,000 Bernina was $12,000. So $12,000. I'm like, oh, okay, I bought a lovely top. Because obviously I have so much fabric. So anyway, that was that. I had a horrible week, and I was telling you on block 27, this was one block, completely the wrong size. Pretty, turned out pretty, but I was not having a good day on Wednesday. I wasn't. It was horrible. So I did something very, very simple. I wanted to do some flying geese. So this is my flying geese block number 28. This is block number 28 this week. We are learning how to do 4 flying geese at one time. So that's the reason for this block. So there's only 2 different fabrics and 1 background. And you do 4 flying geese at one time. That skill. Very interesting, very effective, very nice way. I mean, my points. I messed up on this block too, though. And you'll see it. You'll see it before I saw it. It was so funny. I'm like, oh, have your design board, keep your orientation right, And then I sewed it's a 4 patch. 1, 2, 3, 4. I sewed it, I had it right in front of me. I sewed it all together. And then I thought, oh, my point didn't match. My point, my presser foot sort of slipped, and it went sort of off the 1/4 inch. So I went back and I did it over. I pulled it out. I did it over again, right? Two stitches. I pull it out, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I messed up. I had to completely seam rip that out. But you see me doing that. I don't edit anything out. I messed up. So funny because here I am talking about like, oh, you got to keep it all straight, and I screw up bad. Anyway, that's our block, block 28. Yeah, I've had a week of it. Oh, I've had a week. So very simple blocks, very, very simple blocks. I beat you up last week on block 26, I think. Maybe it was a little bit much, but this was easy. Block 27, super, super simple. 9 patch with a bit of variation. And this week, nice new skill you're going to learn, how to make 4 flying geese at one time. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and thanks so much for following, and we will see you next week up to 29 and 30 blocks. This is my lot of blocks I have. Oh my word. I'm keeping them in order just for, why, I don't know. I'm just keeping them in order for me, because as we put the quilt together, we're going to have a beautiful, beautiful quilt. Some of your colorways are out of this world beautiful. So I hope you love it. Block 27, block 28 this week. Okay, thanks folks. We'll see you later. Bye. Here we are on block number 28. And block number 28, I'm going to be making 4 half square, 4 flying geese at one time with 2 different fabric ways. So to start this block, what we need for the sky or the background, we need fabric A, which is my little white, red and white printed, sort of reads as a neutral, a lighter color. Fabric A, you're wanting to cut 8 3 1/8 inch squares. Remember, the 1/8 is the first line right after the inch 3 on your ruler. So you want to cut 3 of them. Fabric B and fabric C are exactly the same, 2 different fabrics, but cut exactly the same. You'll want to cut 1 5 3/4 inch square of 2 different fabrics, fabric B and fabric C. Now I'll show you how we're going to be making 4 flying geese at one time. What I'm doing is I've done several. I'm on all 8 of my little fabric A. I'm very carefully, this is very, very important, that you mark a diagonal line from the corner to the corner, and making sure that your marked line is right at that corner. Again, meaning that you're putting your ruler just slightly to the left of your marked line, or if you're right-handed or whatever. You want your pen, your marker, to go from line to line. And I'll show you why on this block it's it's very important that you do that, because you're going to be lining up this line corner to corner. I think that's 8. I think it was 8. Let me just see. On to make our flying geese unit, our next step. Right into the corner there. Okay, now taking one of your squares, what you're wanting to do, you're going to be taking a square, and you're going to be, with this skill, you're going to be putting a square that has your diagonal line into the corner. Remember, all the other ones we did center to center. This one you're wanting to go into the corner. Let me get my pins here. So your diagonal line is going from the corner to the center of the block, and you want to pin that nice and square. You've cut it nice, and here's the next one. Now you see how important that was for me to get that line perfectly into the corner there, because when I put it on the piece there, that it almost looks like one drawn line that I just continued with the ruler. Very important. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to my machine, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from that marked line. You might want to pin it a little bit more. I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from this marked line. And then we'll go from there. So at my machine, I'm placing my presser foot right on the line. This side here is on the line because I know my needle measures a 1/4 inch away from that line. And I'm going to just go stitching. And again, we've done pretty side to pretty side with a perfectly marked line. Go slow, and you're going right through the middle onto the next square, keeping a 1/4 inch away. And then right off. I'm just going to turn it around. I'm going to do the exact same thing, 1/4 inch away from that line. Take my pins out. And we're going to be cutting. We're going to be cutting on that line. On the line, right between the stitching. You've made a nice defined line. You're going to be cutting on that line. Be very careful your scissors don't slip. Take it slowly. And this is what we have. We have these funky units that look like that. Okay? So I'm going to go over to my machine, to my ironing board, and I'm going to set the seam, and I'm going to iron these. I'm going to iron them to the dark. Yes, I'm going to go iron these to the dark side, and then I'll be back. I've set this seam. Be careful because it's on the bias, and I've pressed it and I've rolled up to the darker side here, and that's what my unit looks like. Okay, with the little triangles hanging off. Now I'm going to take 2 more, put it square in front of me. I'm going to take 2 more pieces that have the drawn line, and I'm going to pin them to the other corner. Okay, just going to pin that I keep putting my pins over here. You must excuse me. I should get 2. I have about 20 pin cushions. I got to get the other one out. So what you're going to do is you're going to pin this. Doesn't it look funny? You're thinking, what in the world are you doing here? You're going to pin one there. And again, the diagonal line is going from the corner to the center of your block. And it's hanging off. Don't worry about that. That's how it should be. It should be hanging off. So there you go. Now I'm going to go over to my machine with this funky thing here, and I'm going to sew again just like we did, a 1/4 inch away from that line. This unit that I'm doing, I'm putting it next to the line, and I'm sewing a 1/4 inch away from that line on both sides. Oops. Just go slowly. Oh, my thread. And then you're going to go right through and right off. So just be careful. You're going to go right through this intersection and then right off. There you go. Now, what I'm going to show you how to do now is, instead of cutting that, I can just twirl that around. Did you see that? Instead of cutting that thread, I can just twirl around and start right at that, where those pieces meet right there. I can just start right there. There you go, and I didn't have to cut that thread. I could have done that on the other way, but that's okay. And then up to the top, keeping your 1/4 inch seam, and then right off. And then cut your threads. Cut your threads here. Now I'm going to do that with my other piece. I'm going to start at the corner, at the outside corner, and just cut right through, just sew right through this center section, right off, pulling my threads carefully out just a bit, tuck that back under, and then come back on myself, starting at that little intersection there, that corner, 1/4 inch away. This is so easy. I'm sure some of you experienced quilters have known how to make these 4 at a time. Like, it's so simple. So now what I have are these units here, right? So now we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to cut on that line, being very careful. Nice sharp scissors. I'm going to cut right, oops, a little crooked there, but I didn't get near the stitching. I'm going to cut right on that line on both of these units here. You can do this with a rotary cutter and a ruler if you want. Pair of sharp scissors. But what have we made? What have we made here? We have made 1, 2, 3, 4 perfect flying geese where it has the 1/4 inch seam, 1/4 inch seam, 1/4 inch seam, and 1/4 inch seam. So now what I'm going to do is where all these units are here, I'm going to set this seam and I'm going to very, very carefully press this. I'm going to very carefully pull it over because the fabric sort of wants to go this way, the way it's constructed, but I am going to turn it over very carefully and press these seams down to the dark side. For this one, I'm going to do that. It seems like it wants to go that way, but I'm going to sort of force the fabric to go down. And then once you've maybe starched it, pressed it and starched it, your units are going to lie lovely and flat. I'm at my ironing board and I want to show you what I mean when I'm pressing these units here. I've already done one. Okay? So this is how they've just come off my sewing machine, right? And it looks as if, you know me and my pressing and my ironing, it looks as if the fabric, it would just want to go up there very easily, right? But I'm sort of setting the seam, and always when you want to set a seam pressing to the dark, you always pull up the dark side, and that makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so this unit, I want to press, it's a bias seam, and it has this sort of lump here, but you want to be very careful. I'm going to hit that with just a little bit of water. And I want to press this seam going towards the dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally just nudge it because it's the bias seam. And this one's already pressed to the dark. And then the beauty of cotton, I've said this before, is that it stretches slightly. And you can maneuver where it wants to, where you want it to go, I should say. So my fabric sort of wanted to go that other way, but look how beautifully, when I sort of, tell it where I want it to go this time, whoops, this time I want to make this nice and flat, it'll go. It goes beautifully, but with a little bit of persuading. I wanted these units to go towards the dark, my beautiful half square triangles. And you can see that's how it comes off the machine. I'm going to press that. And because it's on the bias, it can tend to very easily get a bit skewed. So I'm going to pick it up from the dark, holding my light, and then just nudge that seam towards the dark. Just a spritz of water. Just nudge that seam. And there, telling it where I want it to go, there's my beautiful flying geese block with my lovely 1/4 inch seam there. This is very easy, but you just want to make sure you get this construction proper. It's very easy for these blocks to get all skewed. I've already done this one. So now I want to hold the dark side up. And that way I can push that lighter seam, give it a spritz with water. You know I don't use steam in my iron. I use a bit of water or sizing. I'll just push that up, push this seam here, which can be a bit of a lump, but you just want to nudge it. Just nudge that up, and then you can see how that presses beautifully. Beautiful. And there are my lovely 4 perfect flying geese units. Here are my 4 flying geese units. Now what I am going to do, I've already done one, I'm just going to cut off the little dog ears, those little triangles at the bottom. Just going to cut them off. It's a bit easier to work with when we go to put it into the seam. And then, be careful, just cut them off. Now I'm going to do my next bit with my fabric C. I'm going to do it the exact same way. So now I have my 4 sets each of my flying geese unit. Now what I'm going to do is I've deemed that this is a very subtle looking block, but I'm thinking these are my darker and these are my light. I've trimmed these off. I've trimmed off the dog ears. I'm going to go grab my design board. Just put it up here so you can see. And now what's basically what we're making a 4-patch unit here. And I'm deeming this sort of as the darker one. So I'm putting that one going this way. Basically we're having our flying geese fly around our block. So I'm just going to set it out on my design board. Darker, and then the darker up here. And the light. Very pretty subtle block. I really like it. My dark on the outside. My light, we've pressed our seams beautifully so the block is laying nice and flat. My dark, and then my light. So here we go, our geese are, oh no, let me see. Oh, I got that wrong. This one wants to go that way. So yeah, see? So you can get the configuration wrong. So there is my block, see? So it's just going around. My darks are on the outside and my lights are on the inside. Now we're basically making a 4-patch. So we're just going to concentrate on each square. Okay, we're just going to concentrate and basically make them the exact same way. But I'm going to go over to my board and I'll show you how I sew them together. I'm going to be taking one unit at a time, and with the configuration of the proper way, I'm going to be taking the top unit here, my lighter one, and I'm going to bring it down onto the darker, pretty sides together. But I'm going to be sewing on the darker side. Okay, I'm going to just be sewing on the darker side. I don't have to pin this. They're pretty much the same size, 1/4 inch. And then when I get to this point here, I know that that's 1/4 inch. So I'm pretty okay with me not cutting off this dark point here. Just hold that there. You can feel it going through the seams, and 1/4 inch along. The way we've pressed our seams, open and maybe, hopefully, and there we go. And that one wants to go up to the top. So there, that one wants to be pushed. When I go to set the seam, it wants to go up to the dark. So I'm just going to continue. This one, now, oh, okay, I wanted to show you that. So here's my design board. You don't want to get confused. So my dark, there's my, I've already sewn this one. So again, this dark is coming over to this light. Pretty side to pretty side. And I'm going to be sewing that on the dark, And again, 1/4 inch, holding that seam down because we've pressed it beautifully. And right off. And I'm always going to put it right next, there we go. I'm going to put it right next to my sewing machine here. I'm going to take this one, do the same thing, bring the dark pretty side down to the light, and then stitch it. Okay, so here again, I'm going to go over to my ironing board. I'm going to press this seam, and it wants to go sort of up, where however that seam wants to go. These ones sort of want to go up to the dark. It's funny that. So however these seams want to go, that's not really a big thing, because the only seam now that we're going to be matching is this point, and this point, which these will match beautifully. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go, oh, actually, no, yeah, press them how they want to go, and then we're going to be putting this one over to here and just matching. We're going to be matching this point here, right? We're going to be matching this point here, and then we'll sew the middle row. I've ironed these and pressed these really well, and this is my configuration. So being careful, I'm going to bring this unit here, my top one, over pretty sides together. Put my design board over there, and I'm going to be matching this point to that point. And you can match that pretty good. I'm just going to put a pin there, and hopefully this will work. We're sewing a 1/4 inch seam. And push that under there. It's a bunch of seams, but hopefully it'll be okay. 1/4 inch. You can hear the machine going over it, and then right off. And this is the top half of our 4 patch, and there, just cut it off tiny little bit, but that's absolutely fine. There's that bit there, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing to our bottom. Bring this over here. I've made sure my configuration is right. Match the seams there. Put a pin. And a 1/4 inch seam. Oops, it went a little bit less than 1/4 inch. I might have to go back and just see if that caught, because it went a little bit less on that point. Yeah, just a little bit. So I'm just going to start from about there. It's a little bit of a lumpy seam, but my machine will do it. And I just go slightly in. There you go. There we go. My machine just came off that 1/4 inch seam a little tiny bit. Much better. Sometimes that happens. And then, yeah, perfect. So now, oh, look what I did. Oh, look what I did. Oh, oh, look at that. Look at this, folks. And I did that twice. Isn't that funny? Look, I got this wrong. My configuration is wrong. This should be going up. Oh, now you are going to see. Look at that. And I did that twice. Isn't that funny? So now I am going to unpick this. Isn't that funny? Here I am waffling on about keeping it nice and configured and figuring it out where it goes, and I mess up. Isn't that funny? So I'm going to just unpick that. Oh, isn't that funny? Maybe I should leave it and call it a design flaw. I mean, a design, element of my quilt. Isn't that funny? See what I did? Look, and actually I got the points perfect. That bummer. And I've done that twice, right? So I got to take that out twice. Oh, funny. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to press it all nice, get all of the rubbish out, and start over, folks. That's so funny. So here I am back. Here I am back. Isn't that funny? I had to take off this seam, which was attached to there. I messed up. Handy dandy seam ripper there. But what I did do is very carefully remove those stitches. There's a bunch of thread there. And then I starched that seam, because you have to be very, very careful not to get that wonky. So now this is it was like that. And now this is my configuration. So now I'm going to put, isn't that funny how that messed up? So now I'm going to put, did you guys see that? Tell me if you saw that. You probably are like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I didn't see it. I'm waffling along, thinking, oh, I'm so professional. It's so funny. So now, this is right. My poor seam got all wonky trying to take it all out. It's okay. So it's fine. 1/4 inch seam. Let's start again, folks. Here we go. Making sure. There we go. Scratch them together. And isn't it the funniest? The one I did twice. Like, oh, I better go back and do that perfect. I cracked myself up. So now let's, oh, that didn't really match up. There we go. Now let's see, is that right? There we go. There we go. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to go set this seam, and it's going to go that way, and I'll just set that seam there, and it's going to go, I'll set this seam, and it's going to go that way. And now all we're going to do is we're going to put this side, pretty side over after I set these seams, nest this seam here, and just match up those two seams. But they're fine because they're 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch the way we've done it. So I'll be back. So I've set my seams and I've pressed them, and now all I have to do is this center seam here. So we're aware of this seam right here, that in the middle, actually not as much, it's more this one and this one, and obviously hopefully that will come. But then we have a 1/4 inch there and there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match the middle one first because that's nested. One seam is going one way, one is going the other. And then I'm going to work on this one, and hopefully that point will match that point there. Put a pin. I'll put a pin there, and on either side of that to hold it. Hopefully you can see this. And then I'm just going to do this one here, and hopefully that will match up with that one. Hopefully if we do a 1/4 inch, it'll be good. And just right back down. Match the ends. 1/4 inch. Quarter of an inch. Making sure my presser foot does the 1/4 inch. I know this one is nice and matched. And 1/4 inch. Match them together. Well, hopefully that will match. And then right off. And then hopefully this is my 4 flying geese unit. Oh yeah, very pretty. Very pretty. My geese are going all the way around the right way. And now it looks like we're going to have to trim it up just slightly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go set that seam, and I'm going to press it where it wants to go. It wants to go up, it looks like, very carefully. And then we'll be back. So ta-da! There is my very soft, pretty flying geese unit. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Here it is. So now, I'll put it in the square in front of me. See how it is. Almost perfect. Just a few bits, just slightly, to get rid of these. Just a slight little tiny bit there. Squaring it up, making it lovely and nice. And just a little tiny bit there. I'm still aware of my 1/4 inch, which is good. Just a little tiny bit on the end there. My 1/4 inch is good. And that's pretty good. There's just a little bit of that pink edge and some of those frays. And then over here, this is very satisfying, isn't it, when you do that and it measures nice. Holding it tightly, and there's just a little tiny bit. And there we go. There's my lovely, lovely flying geese unit. Very soft, very soft. Let me see, block 27 and 28 this week. So here's block 27, and there's block 27 and 28. Yeah, pretty soft and pretty this week. I like them. So yeah, that's block 27. This is block 28. So I hope you have enjoyed block 28 for flying geese. As I was saying in the beginning, somebody was fed up with half square triangles. But actually, when you think about it, so many blocks are made up with half square triangles. So sorry, folks. Probably do some half square triangles next week. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have another skill under your belt. 4 flying geese one time. Use a whole bunch of different fabrics. Change it up. Or make it subtle, pretty. A dark background, a light geese, awesome. So I hope you love it, folks. Block 27 and 28. We will see you next week. Bye.